Well, look at what we got here. A brand new metal model builder. And you look like you're trying to build yourself a sawed-off shotgun, right? Well, it's gonna be a lot trickier than y'all might be thinking. R2, I'm just having a little bit of fun. And I know they may not realize who we are, and that's the kind of the whole thing. Okay, fine. Hey everyone, and welcome to Groove Builders, the show where we create together. I'm your host, Disorderly Cone, and that little droid behind the camera there is R2. In this episode, we're going to be building the Metal Earth Red Dead Redemption 2 sawed-off shotgun, kicking off the new Metal Earth series. Well, I think it's a good place for us to start too, R2. Groovers, let's get down to the workbench and take a look at the package together.
Alright, Groove Builders, welcome to the workbench. We have our Metal Earth Red Dead Redemption 2 sawed-off shotgun and some pretty cool Rockstar packaging. And look at this. I really do like this red and black. Let's go ahead and take a look at the back. On the back, we get that Metal Earth logo, followed by a brief look at some of the other models in the series. And if you're new to the channel, go ahead and click that subscribe button because you don't want to miss these other builds that we're going to do. Now, just below this, we get a brief look at some instructions, but we're going to go into more detail about that during the build. And finally, at the bottom, we get a difficulty indicator, and this one here is saying it's a medium difficulty, but I find these indicators to be a bit hit and miss. So Groovers, let's go ahead and find out for ourselves and open up this package. We have our instructions, and we have our 2 sheets of metal. Oh wow, this looks very unique. Groovers, let's go ahead and get building. Grabbing our tools and our metal, we begin to cut out our first couple of pieces for our sawed-off shotgun. And Groovers, I have to say, I was pleasantly surprised to see Metal Earth do this whole line with Rockstar Games. I mean, these models look great, and I hope they do well too, because I would love to see more. You know, like maybe a saloon, or maybe even a stagecoach, but I'm getting a little bit far ahead of myself. We are building a sawed-off shotgun, and I can't help but feel there's a lot of new groovers out there. So, we need to take a look at the instructions. R2? Ah, those look great, buddy. Starting at the top, we have that Metal Earth logo, followed by a good look at our sawed-off shotgun. Just below that, we have a QR code that we can scan to get a 360 view of our sawed-off shotgun if we need it while we're building. This can come in handy when we're adding different parts of detail onto our shotgun, like the hammers in the back, and also with the shaping and forming of some of our pieces, much like the handle as you'll see a little bit later. Just below and to the left, we get a picture of one of our parts. Here you'll see what your insertion tabs, your insertion holes, and your fold lines look like. Now it's very important to shape your parts using the fold lines, and then when it comes to attaching parts together, insert the tabs into the insertion holes and secure them with how the instructions tell you to do it. Now Groove Builders, it's very important for you to understand this part before moving on, as these are the fundamentals of metal model building. And just to the right, we have the Almighty Legend. Here you'll find all of the little icons spread throughout your instructions. Starting with the first 2, we have the engraved and non-engraved bubbles. These are very important to follow when you're building groovers, as they tell you what side of the metal faces out. Nothing is worse than building your entire build just to realize you have a part on the wrong way. Especially with this sawed-off shotgun, you really want to make sure that all of those lines on the barrels are on the inside and not on the outside. And think of that as a pro tip. Next, we have the attention point, which we're not going to run into on this particular build, but if you were to find it, all it means is you want to pay a little bit more attention to that area. Maybe because the piece may warp or break. So just pay a little bit more attention if you do encounter this symbol. Then we have the very important circle and triangle. Now Groovers, these are everywhere in our instructions, and it's because they tell you what to do with the tabs. You see, every single time we see a circle, you want to take as much of a tab as possible in your tweezers and then bend it down 90 degrees. When you see a triangle, you want to take as much of the tab as possible in your tweezers and then twist it 90 degrees. For the most part, especially with Metal Earth, I recommend following the instructions when it comes to bending your tabs, At the very end of your build, when everything is done, you can look over it and see if any of the tabs could be changed to make it look a little bit better. But again, I think Metalurk does a great job with their tabs, so you shouldn't have to reform any of them. And with that, Groove Builders, let's move on over to our recommended tool section. Here they recommend some wire cutters, tweezers, and needle nose pliers, all of which I recommend for different reasons. The wire cutters are extremely useful for getting all of our parts out of the metal, and it's very important that you go as close as you possibly can to your part before cutting it off, as you don't want any little bits of metal left over. They can get in the way of putting things together when we're building later on down the road. If you're trying to bend all of your pieces out of the metal, stop right now. You're only going to wreck the pieces and you're going to have a very bad time. Go out to the store, grab wire cutters, and come back. You'll thank me later. The recommended tweezers are perfect for shaping all of our parts. And Groove Builders, I can't emphasize this enough. I really do recommend having strong tweezers when building these models. If you're trying to build them with flimsy tweezers, you're really going to get frustrated when you're trying to build some of these more difficult shapes. So Groove Builders, really try to find some strong tweezers before you build one of these models. And lastly, the recommended needle nose pliers are perfect for getting into those hard to reach places to bend our tabs and twist them depending on what we're doing. One other tool that I'm going to recommend that isn't mentioned here is a marker, and that's to help you shape those barrels on our shotgun. They can be a little bit tricky if you don't have something to help you form, so again, a marker will really help you with this. Then just below we have pictures of our 2 sheets of metal. Now Groove Builders, I recommend taking your metal and orientating them to these 2 pictures. The reason for that is that it makes it a lot easier for us to be able to find our parts when we need them. Also, you'll notice there's different colors on both of these pictures. The reason for that is that there's some extra parts here in case you accidentally mess up, like our triggers and some of the detail going onto the shotgun. Needless to say, extra parts can definitely come in handy. But with that, we're done with our instructions, R2, and look, we're almost finished with our shotgun. What do you think? Yeah, you're not going to be touching it anytime soon, buddy.
You gotta know when to hold on, know when to fold on, knowing when to walk away. Hey everyone, and welcome back. We finished our sawed-off shotgun, and this thing is huge. I mean, I was not ready for how big this model actually was. Let's talk about what it took to build this model in construction. My first point when it comes to building the sawed-off shotgun is about these 2 barrels here at the front. These are the main focus of the piece, and they're actually very important to make sure that you form correctly. Now, I use a doming set, which looks like this, to help me form these different pieces. And that's very useful, but if you don't have one of these at home, I recommend trying to find either a Crayola marker or even a pencil to help you out. Now, it's always better to start bigger and then work your way down to a smaller size. And don't forget, Groovers, you really do want to go ahead and pre-bend all of these tabs for the barrel. It'll make it a lot easier for you to be able to attach everything together when you need to. My second point is more of a building tip. When you're putting together the last few pieces, it'll tell you to go ahead and attach the detail onto the shotgun. That means the last piece you're going to be putting on is going through multiple pieces of detail, and if everything isn't perfectly lined up, it can give you a little bit of a headache. So my recommendation is to kind of actually do it in reverse. Take your detail and actually attach it together first before attaching it onto the main body. This will make it a lot easier for you to line everything up. And then once you're inside, I also recommend using a long pair of needle nose pliers to get that tab. Because I will admit, I had a little bit of a hard time getting that tab with all the detail being there. My third and final point is to make sure that once everything is all together, that you go ahead and just push all of your pieces together a little bit better. I found with this particular build, especially in the handle here, you can definitely develop some unwanted gaps. At the very end, when everything's together, you can just press a little bit on there to kind of even out all of your pieces, and I find that really helps with the finished product. And with that being said, Groove Builders, let's move on to build time. The Red Dead Redemption 2 sawed-off shotgun took me just over an hour and 30 minutes to build. but I think that's because I have some experience and the proper tools to be able to get the job done. If you don't have the tools like I have at home, then you might find yourself going a little bit longer. But Groove Builders, remember, it's not a race. You never want to rush any of these models, because if you do, you will find yourself messing up and you won't really have the greatest end product. So take your time and enjoy what you're doing. And finally, Groove Builders, my thoughts. The Red Dead Redemption 2 sawed-off shotgun is an awesome piece. I really do like this. It's a lot bigger than I thought it was going to be too. Especially with 2 sheets, I was expecting a lot more detail, and although there wasn't as much detail as I was expecting, it really did turn out nice. It would be great if they had a little bit more detail here in the handle, and they also maybe had some of that western kind of styling along the barrel. I know that may not exist in the game, but when you're looking at a model like this, it really is nice to have those little bits of detail. Now, if you're new to metal model building and you're joining us here for the first time, I will say that you might struggle a little bit here with the barrels. And most people do. Cylinders are often some of the hardest things you can do in metal model building besides domes. So just take your time, and if you find yourself getting frustrated, just put it down for a few minutes and come back to it. Nothing is worse than forcing yourself to go through something and then breaking a piece and having to wait in the mail for a new piece to come. At the end of the day, I'm very satisfied with this model, and I can't wait to see what the rest of the Red Dead Redemption 2 series has in store for us. And with that, Groove Builders, we're at the end of our show. I had a really good time building the Red Dead Redemption 2 sawed-off shotgun with you, and if you guys had a good time, don't forget to press that like button. For more videos like this, hit subscribe as well, as we got all kinds of really cool content coming out in the future. Until next time, Groove Builders, keep building. Now, I gotta go lock this up before anything happens to it, especially with R2.